Hi, this is Marcus Pulis, and this is Aquarian Anarchy. I am happy to say that for the first time since starting this series of videos, I'm not going to majorly cover war today. The last couple have focused on Iraq and the events around the assassination of Iran's general by Trump and all of that. I don't have to talk about that today, which makes me pretty happy, which means that it's not escalated farther as yet. I'm not saying that it's not going to, but it hasn't yet. So that's a very happy thing. Um, Truthfully, this particular news broadcast is likely to be one of the more positive ones, which again makes me very happy. The most, I think, pressing news story there is today happened yesterday. I tape record these on Tuesdays, and yesterday a massive crowd of Second Amendment supporters carrying firearms and wearing stickers reading, quote, "Guns Save Lives," have descended upon the Virginia Capitol in Richmond as a widely publicized gun rights rally is underway. And that was Fox News's coverage of what happened yesterday in Virginia. They continued, others were seen carrying American and Gadsden flags, while some were passing around petitions demanding the ouster of Governor Ralph Northam, the state's Democratic leader. I would call for the ouster of all of these leaders because they're all criminals and psychopaths. But that's what government is. But Virginia braces for a rally as worries over violence, hate groups, and militias grow. Ooh, that's a little bit different of a take. Members associated with the Lightfoot militia, some of whom were banned from Charlottesville, Virginia, mentioning Charlottesville, we'll get to in a minute, following the deadly 2017 Unite the Right rally. Deadly. Wars we're not going to cover. We're not going to talk about all these millions of people that government kills all the time. Almost on a daily basis, they kill at least a few people. But we're going to call a bunch of alt-right people getting together as part of another rally. We're going to call them deadly. Anyway, the deadly 2017 Unite the Right rally also are expected to attend Monday's protest. Richard Spencer, a prominent white nationalist, has indicated he might make an appearance. As you can see, the media, to be clear, this is Fox News, not CNN, not MSNBC, not Slate, none of these, not the New York Times, none of these left-wing organizations. This is Fox News, the one that y'all conservatives are supposed to be on the same team. No, this is Fox News trying to paint this gun rally as Nazi, at least white nationalist, but probably nationally. And they're trying to paint the people who support the right and own that support their right to own firearms as racists and Nazis. And why would you support the evil gun things? Cause that only racists do that. So this was a peaceful protest. Seen lots of coverage over it. But going back to the world alternative media covered how this is just manipulation. And the links will be for all of this will be down below. But this is just manipulation by the media to try to paint anybody who is pro-gun as being a neo-Nazi. My friend Ford Fisher constantly, I saw a news report with him, which will also be linked down below, where because Ford gets a lot of exposure in mainstream media. He's been on CNN, he's been on Fox, he's been all over those kinds of places, and he covers extremists. And he went to Virginia because maybe they're right. Maybe all this freaking out will be true, and he wanted to show the truth. That's what he does in his productions. So anyway, Ford was being interviewed by a mainstream media outlet, and they kept saying, "Oh, these are extremists. These are right wing Nazis and all that." And Ford's like, "Nope, not seeing any of that. That happens. She's like, I'm sure they're here, but that's not what we're seeing at all. We're just seeing regular people." He was like, "I'm seeing people supporting gays for gun rights, transgenders for gay rights, black people for gay rights." I've seen pictures myself since then of Black Guns Matter activists out there. Hotep Jesus has had supporters out there, which are people in the African American community who understand that guns are, and to be clear, Maj Toure is a friend of mine, and who's the guy who started Black Guns Matter. These are people that understand that a free people need arms in order to ward off a violent monopoly of force, which is what government is. Without them, they would absolutely attack, and attack vehemently. They would destroy everyone. They don't care. Government does not care about women and children. They want you under their thumb. They will only go as far as it takes to make you a slave. So anyway, but Ford had to fight it. I mean, just fight it, left and right, from the people interviewing him, to stop them painting the rally as a racist thing, which it wasn't. And I'm sure when people remember it in the future, it was a big racist thing. Remember in Virginia when all the racists were out? No, that was Charlottesville, okay? The Tiki Torch Masters, I get it. There were some racists, white nationalists involved with that. And I'm not saying that everyone that was involved with that was. No, they were trying, they have this left-right paradigm, which is all bull, but they have this idea of unity within the right. I'm not on the right, I'm not on the left, I'm a libertarian. Or a voluntarist or an anarchist. But these people felt like that they were on the right because they believe these right things or whatever, which is all bull. It's just another form of statism, and many of those people are waking up to that. I have friends that come from the right that are waking up and understanding that the enemy isn't liberals, the enemy is government. Liberals have things right too, because everybody has something right, and so anyway. But they had to fight that. You can watch the live stream, and I'll put the first link to it down below at We Are Change. Lots of, interference with, it's hard to watch at points because, and for one, it's not even really that interesting. And I watched it, but it's, it's peaceful. It's not fun. It's not a bunch of people, getting crazy. I don't necessarily agree with everything that they said there. A lot of those people were Trump supporters. Alex Jones showed up and in a Jeep that he called a tank, because it's Alex Jones. But anyway, but they did that. NBC says that the Capitol Police estimated over 22,000 people attended. No arrests. 22,000 people with no arrests. Now, you'll hear the media talking about it, and it's covered in many of these different sources, but you'll see there were 3 guys that came down from Canada, and they were looking at just cause 3 out of 22,000 people, and they got arrested before they ever got there, which in my mind is probably because they were agents and their whole purpose was to catch them. And they can blame that everything was connected to them, and everybody didn't rise up and cause trouble. And the Derek Brose was in one of Luke's live streams, and he told a story that there was some guy that was trying to start stuff, and people are like, "Shut up!" You quit being stupid. We're not trying to kill people. We're not trying to hurt people. We're trying to say to stop people from killing people and hurting people, we need guns. Because if you don't, the people with guns, namely the government, will come and hurt you and your family. So to cover it a little more fully beforehand, this is the governor declared a state of emergency. He was scared, apparently. 22,000 people were about to come to his city. I don't blame him. Armed. Lots of these people had weapons. I saw a guy carrying a 50 caliber machine gun through the streets, which I love. All of this I love. And the reason I love it is because a bunch of people said, hell no, you can't take away our guns. This is what's going to happen if you're going to take away our guns. We're going to show up with a whole bunch of guns. So no. And I don't know the statistics of how many, but I'd say it was a large amount of people with guns. And then some of them probably had more than once. There might be like 22,000 guns in Virginia at this rally at this point. So, yeah, that was hilarious. And because I love that. We are not going to play in your games. You're not taking our guns. You're not going to enslave us any farther. And they sent a very clear message. So, but the original article says, fearing potential violence, Virginia Governor Ralph Northam is declaring a state of emergency and is banning firearms and other weapons on the Capitol grounds in Richmond ahead of gun rights demonstrations planned for next week. This is the initial article. So he banned guns. Did I mention the 50 caliber? Gotcha. Walking through there was lots of guns. Lots and lots. He said, quote, "We have received credible intelligence from our law enforcement agencies that there are groups with malicious plans for the rally that is planned for Monday," Northam said during a press conference Wednesday afternoon. I wonder if he got the same memo from Dick Cheney about imminent danger. Which, if you watch my last video, we talked about the difference between neocons imminent and a real person's imminent. Apparently, this guy's got the same kind of definition. We got credible evidence, just like the credible evidence they had that the general in Iraq was going to kill 600 people that they made up in Dick Cheney while Bush was in office. They made it up then, and now they're gonna. This guy has got that we had these three people, and they had imminent danger coming to Virginia, and they were gonna do some stuff. And none of that happening. They're trying to set it up, but people were still. This is why they need to shut us down. They need to just shut up the alternative media because we're talking about this stuff. You know, no matter who you're talking about, you're getting thousands of people are seeing. And I'm not big enough to brag, but there are enough people watching different. Alternative media, it got out. You guys are screwed, you know. So anyway, they went on. Gun rights supporters are preparing to converge on Richmond for lobbying day and a rally Monday morning. They oppose the efforts by Virginia Democrats who had just taken over control of the Virginia legislature following November 2019 elections. Voting's going to help you. There you go. Get out there and vote some freedom. Oh, Democrats won. So anyway, to pass a slate of gun control bills backed by Northam. Yeah, and that's what they're doing. I'll get to Trump in a minute, but Democrats, Republicans, it doesn't matter. They're all statists. So the event hosted by Virginia Citizens Defense League is expected to draw thousands of armed demonstrators, some from out of state. Organizers have said that they hope to hold a peaceful event, which they did. They held a peaceful event, as they have all along said they were going to do. That's exactly what they said they were going to do, and that is exactly what they did do. This was a peaceful event. But Northam said, because he can't have that, he has said that officials have heard reports of, quote, out-of-state militia groups and hate groups planning to travel from across the country to disrupt our democratic process with acts of violence. He said they are coming to intimidate and cause harm. They intimidated, all right. 22,000 people showed up with guns. They intimidated the shit out of the government. Yay! So, but again, hate groups. A grandma out there with an AK-47 and hating on nobody. maybe grandma, because I saw some of these people. Maybe grandma get all mad, spank your ass, but she ain't gonna shoot you, I promise. So anyway, Northam is raising concerns about a reprise of the deadly violence surrounding white supremacist march. And I'm going to back up again. What happened in Charlottesville was not a white supremacist march. A little bitty group of people, amongst a bunch of other people who were protesting tearing down statues. That's it. That's what they were doing. They were protesting tearing down statues, historical monuments. There were people who were racist there because they saw the South as their homeland, and we're going to go defend and against these awful people. Yes, there were some racists there. The Tiki Torch Mafia is real, but that's not what it largely was. Anyway, he said state intelligence analysts have identified threats and rhetoric going. Notice I'm repeating this over and over again. The mirror and chatter they were picking up around the time. Quote, please know that we are being prepared extensively to protect public safety at Monday's rally, but no one wants another incident like the one we saw in Charlottesville in 2017. They were pounding on it. Like Charlottesville, Nazis. This is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. And a testament to these people, because it didn't happen. It did not happen like that. It didn't go down like that. These were a great group of people that came together. Were there probably some assholes in there? Are you going to be able to find a picture? Sure. 22,000 people, there's bound to be an asshole in there. I can't get 10 people together and not have an asshole. There may not be a racist asshole, but there's an asshole in the bunch. So, again, I wonder if they found WMDs. If this is about the same credible evidence. One of the things that happened in Ford's video too was that they kept saying, "Well, do you think it was because the police had such a good presence there?" No, it's because people weren't trying to. They certainly had the police out armed. I mean, did I mention Alex Jones in his armored Jeep? Driving around. My friend Dan Behrman, who's running for president as a libertarian, got his sticker on Alex. Well, it's a magnet. On Alex's Jeep, it says taxation and theft. Good job, Dan. That was awesome. So anyway, that's all that. On a Facebook page organizing the gun rights demonstration hosted by the Virginia Citizens Defense League, several commentators expressed frustration at Northam's move to restrict guns from the Capitol grounds. Did I mention the 50 caliber machine gun? I know, I shouldn't call it a machine gun. It is a big ass gun. So anyway, so that didn't work very well. They restricted, they had a little fenced in area that did not hold 22,000 people. That you can't have a gun here. Okay, this gun, it can shoot way farther than that fence. I'll talk to you later. So anyway, so one wrote, this is simply a move to infringe on not only our Second Amendment rights, but our First Amendment rights as well. Northam asked organizers of the events to disavow any group who would threaten violence. Nobody threatened violence. Okay, disavow. Come on. It's because the state doesn't understand anything but violence. They just don't. They don't understand when people are peaceful. They assume that people are psychopaths like they are. They assume that people are going to do stupid things and make a big brouhaha, and they don't. When they don't, they're like, I don't know what happened, because the state is violence, and in what it understands is violence. So Trump later in the week eventually said something about Virginia. He said the Second Amendment was under attack in Virginia. Uh, That's from We Are Change. Of course, as usual, he said one thing and did something completely different. Because while he's under attack, there was a military exercises covered by Natural News. Could be unconnected. I doubt it, but it could be unconnected. Anyway, they covered. This is what they did. They were trying to disrupt and stop people from getting there. That failed. One of the beauties of this whole thing is that you can see how bad the government does anything. They can't even stop 22,000 people from showing up. So if they hadn't done all this, are 50,000 people going to show up? I mean, it's so funny. But anyway, Natural News covered they used the military to block GPS near Virginia, and night vision tubes for goggles seized through eminent domain. Mike Adams covers it, like I said, in Natural News. He came to a few conclusions. Fact number one: the U.S. military carrier strike group is jamming GPS signals from January 16th to the 24th, which may overlap the planned deep state false flag event in Richmond, Virginia. Well, that didn't happen. I think because 22,000 people showed up with guns. And Richmond is just on the margins of the range of the GPS jamming exercise map released by the military, which I have listed below. The epicenter of the so-called exercise is off the coast of Georgia. The official, maybe he's going after Adam Kokesh. I'll get to him in a minute too, because he's down there in Georgia at the LP convention. Maybe they're going after Adam. But anyway, the official, and frankly every other libertarian candidate running for presidency, because there's like 9 of them down there at a debate. So I'll cover that in a minute. So your mileage may vary. So basically, they block GPS so that most people nowadays don't know how to read a physical map. So they rely on GPS to get them anywhere. and so they blocked it. Fact number 2, the FBI is now claiming eminent domain to essentially seize high-end night vision tubes that power night vision goggles from distributors in the United States. Number 1, I don't like that's happening outside of what's happening in Richmond. Outside of that, you're seizing items by eminent domain. That's stupid. The whole thing is they're just going to do what they're going to do. These people are limited government. There ain't no such thing as a limited government. Frederick Douglass said that basically a government that is limited as far as the people say no. Whenever they say no, that's where the limit is. And apparently in Virginia, 22,000 people said no. So anyway, just to skip through that, they basically were, seizing these night vision goggles so they can probably do something at night, and they didn't want people being able to see them. So I don't know exactly what happened to that. But like I said, my guess is that so many people showed up, and it was such a show of force that they absolutely had to back off and not have. It's funny, people say, well, you said it might be a false flag event when talking to Mike Adams or whoever, because I didn't say that. But how do you know? You can't predict. If they were going to do it, and then the 22,000 people showed up, and they didn't do it because 22,000 people, then was it wrong? Who knows? I can't say that they were going to have one. I can't say they were not. But what I can say is they did not. And I am glad, and if it takes 22,000 people to get government to back down, then we need to organize 22,000 people every time to do a bunch of stuff, because we have found what pushes them back, and that's what we need to do. Because otherwise, we're going to wind up with what's just happening in Russia. Last week, something else that happened that is another further escalation of what Putin has been doing in his own country is he is orchestrating a growth of his dictatorship. He pretty much has one anyway. They pretend like it's some sort of free society or whatever, but everybody knows that Putin's in charge, and then everybody else does what Putin tells them to. So anyway, even long-term, the headline from CNN is, when Russia's entire government resigned on Wednesday, even long-term Kremlin observers were taken by surprise. None of these people were taken by surprise. Was I? At first I was like, whoa, whole government. Wow. That dissolving the federal government. Hey! They beat us! Yay! Then I read, and not much. So, early in the day, Vladimir Putin, again, this is CNN, Vladimir Putin had announced his plan to push through reforms that would make his successor as president less powerful by redistributing power in such a way that the Russian parliament and office of prime minister will have greater clout. They've done this before. He thanked the resigned members of the government for their service, but said that, quote, not everything worked out. So he's basically getting ready to do, because the Constitution says that he can only serve so many years, and he's just figuring out, okay, I gotta pretend like I'm not a dictator, so I've got, that at least move the chairs around a little bit. And anyway, in the last 2 years, Putin's approval ratings have taken a dip. Partly as a result of unpopular pension reforms and a stagnating economy. 2019 was also riddled with street protest over municipal elections as Russia's fragmented opposition expressed discontent with what they see as a president and ruling elite that have overstayed their power. There isn't anybody in Russia that knows Putin's in charge. Not a single person. And then let's be clear, that's a little bit preferable to what we have here, because nobody knows who's in charge here. There are people in charge here, but nobody knows who they are. It certainly is not Donald Trump. And it's definitely not Congress. That's really laughable. It is definitely not the Congress. It certainly isn't the people. There's a bureaucratic dictatorship for sure, but we don't know who those people are. Usually probably lobbyists and bureaucrats that have been there forever. But anyway, so at least they know who their leader is. In the last 2 years, Putin's approval, I read that. However, as the exact details of the mass resignation led by current Prime Minister and former President Dmitry Medvedev, unfurled, it was clear that this was no protest as Putin's proposed reforms. That Dmitry, he was the guy that the last time became the president. He was like, okay, here's the prime minister. President has this power. So when Putin can't be the president anymore, let's reverse that. So what they're getting ready to do, and then when he came back to power, and then when he came back to being president, and then he's about to be prime minister again, is what's going to happen. So anyway. In his statement on the government's resignation, Medvedev indicated that it was doing so in order to make life easier for Putin. Come on, you want Putin to live a nice life, don't you? It's kind of like he used to tell us about moms. When mom's happy, everybody's happy. In Russia, if Putin's happy, everybody's happy. If Putin's pissed off, ain't nobody. And nobody's having a good day. He said that the president had outlined a number of fundamental changes to the Constitution, and that in this context it is obvious that we, as the government, should provide the president of our country with the opportunity to make all the decisions necessary for this. All of the decisions. Democracy. It's seeing it at work. It's so limited government. It's working. Government can be limited. Those changes appear to be sorry, I lost my place. Those changes appear to be a redistribution of power, giving Parliament the power to appoint a prime minister. And guess who that's going to be? Who will then appoint a cabinet to be approved by Parliament. In Putin's own words, quote, in this case, the president will be obliged to appoint them. That is, he will not have the right to reject Parliament-approved candidacies. In other words, I'm going to stay in power. I'm going to still be in charge. The next story that I want to cover briefly is that it also came out that there is a new trade deal with China that Putin might as well be that Trump has agreed to. Reading through, I'm not going to get into as much detail with this one as other ones, but I wanted to mention it because, again, as I've pointed out in several videos, but particularly the last couple, we are told that we are against and they're against, and that these different governments are different factions in the world and all that. That's bullcrap. And this trade deal is another example. You know, Trump got together with the Chinese with these tariffs, and they set out to make a deal. Because people are, the tariffs are working at making things more expensive in this country. Absolutely. but not exactly what they meant when they said that. But so what he did is Trump got together with China, and he said, you know what, I'm going to raise these. You're going to raise your prices because that's how economics works. When I raise the tariffs, you're going to raise the prices, and I'm going to be able to use that to get taxation from my people because the tariffs are essentially being paid by the American people, and it was a way for Trump to raise taxes on the American people without calling it a tax, and pull in all of this money for the government so they can waste it on blowing people up in Iraq. But so that was all planned. What they're doing now is they're trying to share power. Because this deal was probably what he said, we're going to give you these things. And as time moves on, we'll see what those things are, which is probably more concessions to the Chinese than we think that we're getting. All of smoke and mirrors. It's what governments do. The exact same thing that Putin is doing in Russia is what Trump and the Chinese government is doing now. Putin is rearranging the chairs, and he's benefiting. The Chinese and Trump are rearranging the chairs, so they both benefit. The people who suffer are the average people, are you and me, paying our groceries or buying our stuff and paying more money for it. We're the ones who suffer. So how do we end that? Well, we're on our way. As many of you know, I work for Adam Kokesh. I am his press secretary, and my job is to get him interviews, but I also write and do whatever. And I was very happy to send out a press release yesterday detailing, and the Steemit version of that press release is also in the notes, detailing what happened this past weekend in Georgia. Adam Kokesh had his first major victory in Georgia. As you know, there are many people running for the Libertarian nomination for President of the United States, which is the third largest party in the country. If you don't know, anything about them, go to lp.org and you can learn everything you want, including the platform. But during the convention in Georgia, where the delegates are picked, there was a bean poll after the debate, and the attendees of the Georgia State Libertarian Convention were given 3 beans on which to vote. In other words, each person, and they said there was roughly 100 people there, each person was given 3 beans on which to place their votes. Now they could go. Now let's say that you liked Adam, you liked Vermin, and you liked, I don't know, Dan Behrman, and you thought they all 3 did really well in the debate. You could go and place your bet for all 3 of them. Or let's say you liked Adam a little better than Berman, and you thought, I'll put 2 on Adam and put 1 on Berman. Or you could put all 3 into one person. Anyway, when it was all counted, the potential delegates had very loudly spoken. The final count of the top 4, and remember there were 9, were Kokesh, 47, first place, 47. The closest contender was Joe Jorgensen at 29. Vermin Supreme got 26. Dan Behrman got 22. It also should be noted that Lincoln Chafee, who is the darling of the media, who they want to be, so the Libertarian Party remains completely and totally irrelevant. They want him to be the nominee, did not make the top 4. Which is really important, because there's 2 major factions in the Libertarian Party. There is the pragmatics and the radicals, and what it signals is that they're coalescing behind a candidate, and it appears as though because you can't really get close to 50% of the vote and not pull some pragmatics. I'd say more than half of the party is pragmatic. So that means that Adam is appealing to pragmatics. And what that means is they see him as expanding the party. And I absolutely think that is true. Although I would also argue that Vermin also could enlarge the group, or enlarge the party. But it seems as though that they want a more serious candidate with a really serious platform, and the ultimate goal, and it says it in the Statement of Principles of the Libertarian Party, is to remove power from psychopaths and reduce government and take power away from specifically the federal government, which is exactly what Adam is trying to do with his plan to localize. So that is beginning to happen. And we also, and when I say we, I'm talking about the campaign, because I helped do some of this. Because I, again, get him the media exposure. He was recently covered in a Washington Times article, which I can link at the bottom as well. Although if you follow which is probably the best way to do it, if you follow the article on the Georgia Convention, the links are in that. So I'll just let you, if you really want to dive into the article, it's in there. So anyway, so in the Washington Times, they only listed 2 candidates, Adam and Lincoln Chafee. And it was about being a peace candidate, and obviously the only real peace candidate is Adam Kokesh. But anyway, we did really well in Tennessee as well. And now we didn't do real great in New Hampshire. Vermin, like I covered last time, he pretty much swept that. It's his home state. Good for Vermin. But also good for Adam. He got Georgia, and we did really good in Tennessee. I'm not real sure. It's too close to call, and they didn't have the kind of easy accounting that they had in Georgia. But Tennessee apparently went really well for us as well. And it looks like, to me, that the people who seem to be consistently doing well tend to be Adam and Vermin. And I'm good with that. Please let me have to choose between Adam and Vermin, please. Because those 2 people are principled people. They have differences, and I have differences with Vermin. That's why I support Adam. But but I'd be happy with that decision. And my hope is that if it looks, and I'm telling you right now, I work for Adam, and I work my ass off for Adam, and he's a great guy. But if it looks like he's going to have to drop out, if we get to the convention and Vermin is by far ahead, I will throw my support behind Vermin every day. Right now, I'm telling you, and I'm hoping that the Vermin people do the same. Because together, the Kokesh campaign and the Vermin Supreme campaign are unbeatable. Unbeatable. You put those two together, cannot be beaten. Just can't. And so the choice that the Libertarian Party is going to have and going to have very, very soon is between probably Lincoln Chafee. There's murmurings that Justin Amash may still come in. And if that's the case, then everything I'm saying about Lincoln Chafee goes away because he'll just blow Lincoln Chafee away. Lincoln Chafee, Lincoln who? I remember Lincoln. I didn't really like it. He released the freed slaves, right? Yeah, good guy. Anyway, but but it will come down to whoever the establishment, people uh, want in place, and the real libertarians will have another candidate, and it looks like that that is going to be Adam Kokesh. And I hope that I'm right. And if you had asked me a few weeks ago what our chances were, I'd have said they're not very high. I would have given us like a 40% at the maybe 40% at the most, and probably closer to a 20 or 30% chance that we would win. We're well over 60% now that we're going to win. And part of that is because Kim Ruff dropped out of the race, and for a lot of her people, Adam was their second candidate, and the second person that they supported, as it should be. Kim was a principled libertarian. Adam is a longtime principled libertarian. So obviously that's moving that way. So anyway, I wanted to cover that. After all of these, I have decided that I will talk about something I want to talk about. Well, today's topic is fear. In all of this coverage that we've been talking about today, what they wanted was fear. The tool that government uses is fear. They want you to be afraid that you're gonna get shot. The Nazis are gonna come for you or whatever. They use fear as a tool, and who's going to build the roads? That's a fear tactic. People are going to build the roads. It's a really simple, private industry got this handled. We're not, there might have been an argument, 300, 500 years ago why we needed this thing called government, but we are not there anymore. One of the was in a conversation with Adam and somebody on that was a Bernie supporter on Twitter, and this person's like, because Adam was like, well, actually, I built a road, because he did build a road. He had property that didn't connect to the infrastructure that was already there. And so he built a road to connect his property so he could get to it without, off-roading, so that he could get to the main thoroughfare. So that they were like, well, but who built those roads? Well, it's not like they're going to disappear. We have a vastly different situation. And government built the road? No, government did not. Government came in and built the roads after there were already roads. It's already there. They maintained them maybe poorly with potholes, but that's it. That's what they did. So anyway, but they maintain fear. All of everything that the government does, you don't pay your taxes because you want to give and you want to help study goldfish, see if they will accept capitalism, which That's the thing, apparently. They don't pay it so that they can have squirrel control in Guam. You don't, you just don't pay your taxes for that. You pay your taxes because you are afraid that if you do not pay your taxes, they will throw you in a cage, and if you try to resist, they will shoot you with a gun. It is all based in fear. That's what government does. That's what government is. Stop telling yourself that government is anything but people with guns. They are simply bandits who are robbing you at gunpoint and making you do their will. They are enslaving you. They are slave owners and they are bandits. And really, those are the two best things. Which are they slave owners, bandits, or murderers? They're one of the three. If it's a really limited government, they're bandits. If it's a little bit less controlled or limited government, then it's and they all do it. But which one do they do the most? Most bandits kill somebody they try not to get stolen from. The slave owners the second, then murderers, just plain ass murderers out killing everybody. Those are your three kinds of state. So which one would you like? All of them ran by fear. So how do we get away from that? Stop being afraid. And those people in Virginia, in Richmond, said, we are not afraid. 22,000 of them came out and said, we are not afraid. And that is just one example of what we can do together. What we can do voluntarily, because nobody forced them to get out there. Nobody said you have to show up. This is what we can do together. We are stronger than they are. We are bigger than they are. They are not scary. We are. You know, there's I'm going to paraphrase because I don't have the exact quote sitting in front of me, but I believe it was Jefferson that said, when the government fears the people, you have tyranny. When the people fear the government, there is tyranny. When the government fears the people, there is liberty. Well, it is time to stop being afraid, people. And what happened in Virginia is a perfect example of why. We will not be subservient any longer. We are rising. It is seen all around us. Sure, there are setbacks, like what's going on with China. They're trying to get allies. Putin solidifying his control. That's what governments do. There are setbacks, certainly. The fact that running for president right now is someone running on the platform of the peaceful dissolution of the federal government, that he not only is a candidate, but may very likely win, is enormous and should make you emboldened, should take away that fear. All of this to say, none of this is important. Hug your kids. Love your family. Live free. Live as if you are a free person, even if you have to pay your taxes. Do what you got to do to live a happy life. I'm going to finish this with a quote from Lao Tzu. He said, "Be careful what you water your dreams with. Water them with worry and fear, and you will produce weeds that choke the life from your dream. Water them with optimism and solutions, and you will cultivate success. Always be on the lookout for ways to turn a problem into an opportunity for success. Always be on the lookout for ways to nurture your dreams." I suggest you nurture your dreams. Among mine is this. If you like this video, please share it, like it, comment. If you think that I could have done something different, please let me know. If you think I'm wrong about something, let me know that too. All the links will be down below. I also suggest we have cool stuff. I'm not wearing a t-shirt from our store today. Today I'm wearing one that I bought from another person's store. And I enjoy our store, and I suggest that you go purchase stuff. We have lots of cool things. Thank you for your time. and stay free. Stay free, my friends.